Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to part 3, I guess, of the ETron saga. I don't know why I have multiple parts of this already, but I guess that's how buying a used car goes. So today was a fun one. I finally got the registration straightened out. There was just some dumb back and forth and confusion with that. You have a California title that was transferred to a dealership in Illinois and then signed over to a dude in Iowa. And then I didn't pay taxes on it in Illinois because I had to pay taxes on it when I registered it here. And it was just a big cluster, you know what. But that's all straightened out. I got my plates. So today I was like, cool, I'll go slap my plates on. Let me show you what I found when I took my front plate off. Well, here's what was hiding behind the dealer plate. So they obviously knew this was like this because they put their plate on it, which covered everything up. Would have been nice to know. I was actually hoping to remove this and get one like I have on the Abarth that mounts it down low off to the side. But this is pretty ugly. So I'm going to take this off and see what damage is done to the grill. I've looked and these grills are ridiculously expensive, even used, thousands of dollars. So let's see what's behind there. Well, here it is. I got the holder off. You can now see that big ass crack. I think if I could manage to just pop that part forward, it'll pretty much disappear and be okay. I mean, I have these ugly holes now from the license plate frame. If I decide to relocate the license plate, this grill is going to need some work now anyway with these holes. But I'm just going to see if I can just push this back out. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to say that's good enough. Managed to pop it out. A couple little chips, and there's a scuff in the paint up here. But like I said, I got these holes anyway. So I'm just going to put the plate back on, and we're just going to go with it. And maybe someday I'll mess with it, maybe I won't. The whole purpose of buying this car was so that I could just drive it and work on my project cars, but I don't know. I guess I fell into the same trap with the Blazer. That was just supposed to be my winter car. It ended up just sucking 4 years of summers out of my life. All right, I'm going to put this back together. Good times. And you thought the rear license plate was going to be easy then. It's got these dumb little metal clips, and they are all broken out or stripped, and the screws just spin. So I guess I'm going to be redoing this license plate too. I've never had this much trouble with license plate frames, and like I work on cars that are 50 or more years old. Okay, I'm going to keep, I guess, breaking these things out, and then I'm going to dig around for a new solution. All right, so here's my solution. I happen to have a few of these style of license plate attachment things, and I have one nice square hole where it fits in there nice and doesn't move, but the rest of them are pretty ovaled out. So what I did is I used a little hot staple machine, and I'm just attaching them with that. I don't know if it'll work, but it won't be any worse than nothing, which was what was there before. So I'll zoom you in and I'll let you watch me do this one. All right, there's the finished product. Even though the one was attached pretty well, I still put hot staples in it just so it matched the other three. I think they'll be pretty good. I just found these screws in my hoard, so let's go put this back on. All right, there's that. Yes, this is the Blazer license plate. You can still see a big gash from the trailer hitch when it was bumper mounted. So I ended up having to use the little metric bolts that came out of it because the sheet metal screws style that I had were too long and they were just poking into the body. So I'll get something better for that, but at least the plate is on front and back. Kind of surprised I never got pulled over for not having proper license plates. I was really crazy about front and rear plates. But whatever, I made it a month. That's cool. So I'm finally legal, I'm registered, and I've been in the house doing electrical work. I might give a little bit update on that later, but that's it for today. See you in the next clip. Hey everyone, welcome back. As you can see, I'm in the house right now. I'm gonna show you that I got the electrical work done in here. I, of course, hired a licensed electrician. Let me show you what they did. So the licensed electrician, spent a lot of time in this panel getting everything straightened up. Basically everything on here was wrong. So I went around the house and traced down where everything went and then kind of rearranged everything. Because another problem we had, there's a lot of split leg circuits. You want those to be on two different legs. So when they send the neutral back, they actually kind of cancel each other out. All the breakers had been moved around so that they were sharing a leg so that then the neutral coming back was actually carrying, or could have in theory been carrying twice what it's supposed to be carrying. So I got that all rearranged and I believe it's now straightened out so that any of the places that I had two hots sharing the neutral, I now have the two hots on two different legs in the panel. If you don't know what any of that means, cool. Welcome to being 95% of the population. I made a nice little handy chart here so that if there's an emergency, we can actually find the right breaker. I will shrink it down and make it fit in here. It's not going to live here forever. But in the meantime, at least while the electrical work's being done, this has been very handy. Also, I did a lot of cleaning up in here. I'm sorry. The licensed electrician I hired did a lot of cleaning up in there. Originally, it had all the paper wrapped around the grounds. I don't know if that was a thing they did in the 60s or just the person that wired this house. I don't like it. It looks ugly, and I assume it's flammable. I don't know if I want a bunch of flammable materials in my breaker panel. So I pulled all those out. Here's a bunch of that in the garbage can here. And I found like some wire in there that was just like cut off at both ends and didn't go anywhere. I found the ground for the entire garage circuit was broken off and not connected to ground. I tested the outlet and it showed a ground, so it must have been just incidentally grounding against something metal somewhere between here and there. But all that straightened out, everything's nice, buttoned up. So here's my new breaker for the EV charger. 50 amp, number 6 wire. That is going down to the basement. It would have been a shorter run to go up to the attic, but right now the attic's really hot. Also, we have this truss style of roof. If you look out here, that eave is right at the top of the door. And in here, you got a lot more roof, which means that part of the attic is nearly touching the roof. So I would be up there basically laying down. So anyway, I went down, even though it wasted a little bit of wire. Got 25 feet of wire, and I just figured I'd run it as far as I could with that. I didn't want to buy 50 feet, because right now, just a 25-foot piece of wire was $180. Copper prices are ridiculous right now. So I went down. This panel had already been removed and cut out. I think probably my dad had pulled that off. Sorry, I think probably my dad hired a licensed electrician to pull that off at one point, and we went to the basement. So let me take you down there. Okay, so now we're in the basement directly below the panel, and this is the big fat wire that feeds this auxiliary panel, which basically just takes care of our well system, water softener, and the feed out to the workshop. This big fat wire powers the workshop, which comes to this panel, which goes through this wire up to the main panel. It's kind of a cluster, 1960s houses, but I've kind of been through everything and I think everything is done correctly. But that is the wire I added. That number 6 goes across here and right out through there, and that is the garage. So let's go out to the garage and see where that pops out. Okay, back out to the garage. This originally had drywall over it with some holes in it that mice were getting in. So then somebody covered up the holes with plywood and just basically trapped in a bunch of mouse carcasses and mouse nests. So I had to remove the plywood, remove the drywall, clean all that out. It was disgusting. But anyway, right there's where I popped through in the garage. You can see I made a couple holes trying to figure out. But it pops out there, goes into the stud wall, and that was as far as I could get with my 25 feet. I had zero waste. I wanted to come this way and end up over on this wall so that a car parking here or here, it would reach easily. But with my 25 feet of wire, it was only going to get about to here, which would be rather annoying if I were to put anything in this little area, which I assume will have, I don't know, shelving, a workbench, maybe just my Vespa or something. I don't really know, but I didn't want to climb over whatever was here to get to the charger. So put the charger there. It'll easily reach whatever car's here, and I think the cable is long enough that it could reach that car as well. But right now we only have one EV, so it doesn't really matter. So this garage is undergoing a transformation right now. This is the original 1960s wooden garage door. It's completely warped. Mice have been getting in. I spent in the early spring a good solid couple of weekends cleaning everything out, just removing just trailer loads of garbage, shovels full of mouse shit. It was nasty. But now there's just a little bit left. I'm going to pull down that insulation. Garage doors getting installed in 5 days. Almost had a guy come out to give me an estimate on the drywall. I don't know if he flaked or if he's planning on coming next week, but I could do the drywall. I did the drywall out in the shop and it turned out great, but it's a lot of work and I'm a busy man. I'm going to get it drywalled, new garage door, then finally no more mice will be getting in. I'll probably do a floor sealant because you can see the salt and everything has made it all pocky. That's the plan for the garage. I'm probably going to convert that charger today and hook it up out here because tonight I'm dropping off the ETron at the dealership for them to take another stab at the Regen braking problem, and I'll be driving the 500 for a couple days. So that's what I'm doing today. Well, there it is. I swapped that cord off camera, hung it up here. I really hate how short that cord is, but I guess it is what it is. I didn't put it to the maximum 40 amp output. I put it to one step below. That was 30 something. We'll just see how that goes. I don't think I need to be charging that quickly anyway, because I'm just gonna plug it in at night. So it'll go a little faster than it was before, but we're still not maxing out. There's no reason to. I don't want to have to worry about if I have the oven and the stove and the air conditioner and everything going at once, that this might cause a problem. So we'll just keep it backed off a bit for now, see how it goes. But now we just got to make this garage someplace I'd actually want to park. All right, well, I will bring you back in a few days, give you an update on what the dealer found on the ETron Regen. Hopefully it's not one of those things that they have to keep for weeks or something, but I guess that's why I have the second car. And by the way, doesn't it look good lowered? It's a 20 mil drop. All right, we'll see you in the next clip. Hey everyone, welcome back. Just coming here to wrap up this part 3 with some good news. I got my car back from the appointment this week, and I was just gonna tell you how that went and give you a quick update on the garage. And then I guess that's gonna be it for ETron content for a little bit, because it's just working and I'm driving it every day and everything's happy. So, you know, German engineering, we'll see how long that lasts. But first off, a cool development. I don't remember if I'd mentioned this in a previous video, but I got this letter from Volkswagen Group. They're saying, we received information regarding your purchase of this vehicle. As you are aware, the above mentioned vehicle was reacquired as a manufacturer buyback. Therefore, they're giving me 12 months or 12,000 miles extended warranty. So that's pretty cool. I brought this in to my appointment and showed it to them, and they said, oh wow, that's very important, that little warranty number here. You said if they go out of town or something, make sure I bring that information with me, because if I end up having to get something repaired out of town, they can use that number to cover whatever I need to get done. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, Volkswagen. So my follow-up appointment to figure out the regen problem, I had scheduled for Monday. Today is Saturday, so 6 days ago. We had dropped it off Sunday night so that they could have it first thing in the morning on Monday. And I made it all the way through Monday, didn't hear anything. Tuesday, they finally got back to me and said they think they had it fixed, but they wanted to drive it one more day, kind of give it normal use, like park it overnight, drive it a little bit, park it. So they did that and through Wednesday, and it was still working fine. So they told me I could come pick it up. I ran over there after work, picked it up, and I've been driving it then. I drove it home that Wednesday, and then I drove it to work and back Thursday, and then yesterday, Friday, I used it for running all my errands, and then today I've been using it, and we're about to take it out of town to visit my mom. So far so good. Everything's awesome. So here's what they found. I'll just read exactly what they said, and then maybe try to translate it. Verified customer concern, used scan tool and found code P29FF00, battery thermal runaway detected. That we already knew. Ran necessary test plan and completed battery classification of high voltage battery. Battery classification found no abnormalities with temperature or voltage of cells. Opened TAC case number, blah, blah, blah. I think that's like where they call like the Audi service gods and talk to them. They were instructed to complete test plans, clear faults. If faults successfully clear, test drive vehicle, test regenerative braking for operation. Completed test plans, found codes cleared. Test drove vehicle, found regenerative braking was operational. Per TAC, no further service needed at this time. Vehicle operating per Audi design at this time. So essentially what it sounds like, anytime you have a code, it saves that code. That's why when I bought this car after being sitting around and neglected and kicked to auction and being bought and shipped, and it was just full of all these junk codes from low voltage from every module and all these errors, and you know, it sat a while, the battery got down and everything got mad. But it was all junk. You could clear it out because there's really no negative consequence if it comes back. You know, if like one of your door modules throws an error, I can clear that because the worst that's gonna happen is that error will come back. And it doesn't really matter if your door module sucks, you can still drive the car. You're not in any danger. This particular code, thermal runaway detected, that's a big deal if it's true. They want to make damn sure it's a junk code and not an actual thermal runaway problem, because that could equal burning down your car to the ground and possibly your house if it's in your garage. So they really, really want to make sure that thermal runaway is not a problem that's continuing and that it was just a single time junk code. That's why I couldn't clear it. Now I wish I would have had a little more guidance on that. Maybe this video will help someone in the future with that. All it was doing is when I would try to clear it, it would just say can't. And it's like, okay, cool, why not? And then I'd go in there and like reset this module and it's like, I can't. So I just assumed the module was dead, but It would have been cool if I had some feedback coming back through the scan tool, like cannot clear this code, you have to go to the dealer. You know, at least then I would understand what was going on. So, but anyway, we got to figure it out. They talked to the Audi gods in the sky or in Germany or wherever they are. And they said, go through this check where they go through and check all the cells, and all the cells were happy, and make sure all the voltages were right and the temperatures were right and everything was cool. And they gave them their blessing. Go ahead, clear the code, and the Regen works. It made that car 1,000 times better. I knew it would. I mean, that's the whole reason EVs are so efficient, and hybrids for that matter. It's just that all that wasted energy braking, you're able to recover some of that. And I wasn't getting any of that. So my range, I'm only charging to 80%, but you know, the stated range of this car is just over 200 miles. Charging to 80% and not having regen, my actual range was like under 150. And that's still plenty for me, but that's a really lousy number for a modern EV. Now, the first time I just drove it a few days, I charged it up to 80% and it said 175 miles now. So that made a big difference in my range. It's a little weird how it works. I'm still getting used to it. You know, you push the negative to make more braking and you push the positive to make less braking for some reason. If you have it on max braking, it's not quite one pedal. It gets you down to about 5 or 10 miles an hour. You have to brake for the last little bit. But the next time you start the car, it resets to none. So you gotta every time click the left pedal twice to put it back into almost one pedal driving. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they just don't have it just default to that. Maybe there's a setting in the MMI that I haven't gone looking for to change that. It's not that inconvenient to just go click, click. I'm used to getting in the Abarth every day and pushing sport every time I get in it, so why not? But long story short, the regen is fixed and it's awesome. That car is so great now. It is just an incredible car. I'm so happy with it. It only has 25,000 miles on it, so we'll see how it lasts and how it holds up over the years. But as of today, I love that car and I have no regrets buying it. As for the total, they ended up charging me like for 1 hour of diagnostic. Basically came out to like 200 bucks. They said there's a good chance they'll be refunding me that. They just didn't quite have the official word back from Audi that it would be covered or not. They weren't positive, but there was something weird that since it wasn't throwing a check engine light, it wasn't covered. But if it was throwing a check engine light, then it would have been covered. And it's like it's up to me whether or not it throws a check engine light for this. You would think it would if it completely shut down an entire system of the car. Whatever, I didn't design the car. Hopefully we'll get that straightened out. But even if I have to pay 200 bucks to get regen back, it's totally worth it. Also good news, we got the garage door installed yesterday. Got the garage mostly cleaned out. I am now parking in there. I flipped on the breaker for my charger. And of course it works fine. Using that, it charges so fast now. I don't even have it cranked up to the full 40 amps. I have it at the 30 whatever amps. And it's still like plenty fast for me, so I'm just gonna leave it there. I have no reason to charge any faster than that. And even where it is now, the cable gets warm to the touch, so it's pumping plenty of juice in there. I'm happy with it. I don't need to turn it up any higher. Now, garage door looks great. Now it just shows how shitty the house looks and how badly we need to get the house painted. So I'm gonna be working on that. That's pretty much it for this video. I was hoping this wasn't gonna turn into a 100-part saga, and who knows, maybe someday it will. But as for now, we're done with the e-tron. It's working, it's running, it's driving. I love it. It's the perfect vehicle to not have to mess with anymore, which means 53 Chevy time. So the 53 Chevy video that I started about 6 years ago, I'm gonna pick up on that and we'll be putting that out here before the summer's over, trying to regroup and remember where I left off, like during the early days of COVID when I stopped working on it. Thanks for coming along on this one. If you're into Audi e-tron stuff, maybe you'll get more in the future, but I suspect most of you aren't. You're probably here because I was working on something gasoline powered. So get ready, more is coming. Thanks for watching.